Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. There is a 3.10.0 M patch now out on the PTU. It's still only Wave 1 at the moment, so only Eva Carty and subscribers as well as concierge members have access, but Cloud Imperium have said that they wanted it to go to a wider testing group in the next few days, that 3.10 patch. So 3.10.0 M saw some additional updates and fixes. Let's take a look at the patch notes and then we'll talk a bit about how the patch plays. They've adjusted how wind affects the rotations of ships, so it no longer rotates it into the wind and instead properly pushes the ship, which obviously when you're in atmosphere that can be quite pushy. You are going to get jostled around in atmosphere in the wind now. Visual improvements to restricted area gates. They've added a new Wallace Klim drug delivery mission set. There are landing gear icons on ships' HUDs that should now flash when gear is being raised and being lowered. They've repositioned and increased the amount of retro thrusters to 4 on the MISC Freelancer variants. They've increased the Gladius's roll speed while in atmosphere. They've added a junk site location to one of the moons of Microtech, Euterpe. Bartenders have seen a animation polish pass and updates to animations for order rejection. They've smoothed out and snapped animations in place better. Hand grips on items and take actions have all been improved, and they've been making drink liquid levels decrease when bar patrons drink them more appropriately. So you should see better barmen and them being a bit more responsive as well. They've increased the duration that the helmet visor wipe action keeps the player's vision clear, and they've updated the visor wipe default keybind to left alt and X. I swear they just move stuff around randomly on the keyboard. Like, it was fine on said, wasn't it? Was it not? Maybe I didn't see that feedback. Some bug fixes. There should no longer be a small door panel on the floor in the center frame of the double doors to the midsection of the Cutlass Blue and Red. Players should no longer get stuck on trading kiosks when using them at Trade Development Division in Area 18. New Babbage Omega Pro NPC shopkeepers should no longer be completely stationary and stuck in a pose. Players should now be able to sit in the jump seats in the Cutlass Black. The rear exterior door at the end of the catwalk should no longer be missing from the Starfarer and its variant. They fixed an issue that was causing weapon gimbals and remote turrets to be offset from aim after leaving a seat and then sitting back down. Large ships should no longer fall towards the planet without returning control to the player if autopilot takes over when hitting the no-fly zone in an exit spline. So a little bit of an improvement to those no-fly zones. There was a load of problems with them, and we'll come on to that in a second actually. Drink holding animations should no longer clip into bar tables when seated and transitioning in and out of seats. The Hangar 08 in Lawville should now be accepting landing requests. Atmospheric burn particle lights should no longer be visible throughout the interior of small ships when no windows are present. Planetary weather effects are no longer clipping through MFDs in ships. Players should no longer be sent to Arena Commander after exiting to menu from the Star Marine game mode. 3D icons in personal inventory should now appear correctly when in the inner thought wheel. Ammo counters on the Ubrev Electron pistol should now correctly rotate. There should no longer be a panel floating in the open ship interior doorway of the Vanguard Hoplite. They fixed entry effects clipping into the interior of the Hammerhead. Quantum jumping to Levski from orbit should now correctly quantum travel the player to Levski instead of map origin. Not where you want to go, basically. Multiple bartenders should no longer attempt to visit a player at the same time. The captain's bed in the Aegis Reclaimer should now have proper interaction. They fixed an issue causing Microtech's security to not spawn in around Microtech and its moons. Satellite Deploy, Com Array Hack, and Constantine Hurston's Safe Retrieval missions have seen some fixes. Ground vehicles should now be able to be repaired at Platinum Bay outposts, which is actually pretty cool. They fixed an issue causing players to not be able to respawn in Arena Commander race game mode, and they fixed 7 client crashes and 3 server crashes. However, there are still a large host of known issues which Cloud Imperium want to plow through. The ones that they have listed are requesting ATC, air traffic control takeoffs, before entering your ship may cause takeoff splines to not appear, which means that you can't really leave a planet in that situation. So the workaround there is to request takeoff after entering your cockpit and powering up your ship. Moving slowly in a restricted area can cause players' vehicles to get stuck, with the autopilot having seized control but not actively moving you anywhere, although they have made some fixes towards that. When approaching outposts in a ship, the player will receive "Please contact ATC to land" UI on the HUD, but are unable to request landing at outposts. The player's ship is destroyed shortly shortly after flying into a restricted area or zone around the spaceport after leaving a hangar. That's not great. Players are not able to join a persistent universe instance with a friend from the main menu. Landing gear will take multiple presses of the keybind to activate, so I spam it, but then sometimes it goes back up and goes back down. I don't know. Security scans won't recognise the drugs on board a player's ship during the drug production run missions. The ship hologram 3D model will take over 20 seconds to load the first time the player views one in the Vehicle Manager app or the Arena Commander menus. The Area 18 nav markers will appear at Central Plaza, not the spaceport, which again is not ideal. Legally landed ships may be impounded. Again, that is just a bug. Multi-tool in Kalesha prison commissaries do not come with the ore mining bit attachment, which means you are not necessarily able to do the mining gameplay in the way intended in the Kalesha prisons. If the player exits to menu or disconnects or crashes during the prison load screens, the loadout might not be changed to what it needs to be. Players might get stuck on a loading screen when leaving prison or respawning, or if you're sent back to prison a second time without clearing your crime stat. When going into aim down sights and crouching or prone, you will be unable to see through the optic scope of the arrowhead or the P6LR. Free look does not always work properly in turrets, and the Valkyrie remote turrets will jump to facing forwards when the player faces them all the way to the back, which is obviously a little annoying bug if you're using a Valkyrie. I would like to remind people, if you're using turrets and ships, pressing Q will change that from sort of the VJoy mode, which is great if you're using a joystick or a thumbstick or something, but might not be great in a mouse. You might want one-to-one mouse relative mode, which you just press Q to toggle to, which I find much better. Some people apparently enjoy gyro stabilized mode and others don't. I really like gyro stabilized, so I turn that on as well when I'm using a turret, and I seem to do pretty well at just wrecking things now with the turrets. Turrets are really good now. But some personal gripes with 3.10. The flight corridors and restricted area updates combined with the new atmospheric flight model, they're going to take some players at least a few attempts to get used to, and there's a lot of bugs and derpy mechanics that need to get solved that sort of like add to the headache at the moment. So at the moment, those flight corridors, I don't really like them. I don't really think it was the direction that I wanted restricted areas to go into, but I'm willing to give them a bit more of a chance once they're a bit more dialed in. So at the moment, things like flight corridors timing out, or hangars closing before you can land, but then you can't request a landing again, and you can't leave the area to get back away from it because the flight corridor and restricted area pulls you down or pushes you up or whatever. So there's a lot of little annoying bugs there. There is a lot of good, however, in that 3.10 patch so far, especially with the stability for the PTU. It's extremely stable for me at the moment. Really enjoy the new flight combat and flight model stuff. Getting used to that is going to take a little bit more time for me, and I suspect when it's in other players' hands, some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, but give it some time. I genuinely think it's a great step forward. I still don't think that they have what they need to get the dogfights closer together. They want the sort of range of dogfights to be a little bit closer. It's a little bit closer, but the high speed combat debuffs and what they've added at the moment still has people sort of like jetting away and jousting and doing DPS races quite often. At least that's what I've seen so far. Really, we need more of the core systems to come online, like physicalized components, and then something with high speed sort of like combat, pushing you to have to choose between power going to shields, weapons, or engines, or sort of like a little bit to all or whatever. A little bit less available power when we have physicalized components might be a sensible thing to do. That's more of a thought than tangible actions, so don't listen to me necessarily when I say this is how the game should be, because it will always be my personal opinion, and I'll be the first to say that game meta is not my strong point yet. I will be looking at game meta a lot more and learning it back to front once we have a sort of like more rounded game and sort of like a lot more of the mechanics in place. But what do you think? Are you a fan of the new flight model and combat updates? Have you been playing in 3.10 on the PTU? What are your experiences? Are you having a terrible time? Are you having a great time? What's the stability like? What's the bugs you've encountered like? Are you waiting on a wider PTU or the live build? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Also, I can confirm that the range of Shadow hardware options work perfectly fine with 3.10 on the PTU at the moment. I will be doing some videos on that, and I'm a massive shield for Shadow. I love their product. I really think that cloud-based gaming, as long as it's not restricted, as long as it allows you to do what you want, like a full-on Windows 10 sort of like environment, then it's gold. It's a great idea, but it's certainly going to be suitable for a lot of people. Every month there's a ship giveaway. For the month of July, we have a Banu Merchantman and Star Citizen game package to give away. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during July 2020. Details to that down below in the links. I'm also a shill for NordVPN. If you're looking for a VPN, then Nord should be considered. It's cheap and fast and helps keep you secure, anonymous, and give you greater access to websites and informations. Use the links below if you're thinking about getting a VPN. Also, a special thank you to Azatec for supporting my content. Find out more down below because they sent me a Alienware Aurora A10. But there's more to it than that, and you can see all the details of my spec down below and all that sort of jazz. If you'd like to further support my channel or content, then please consider becoming a YouTube member, a Patreon, or even donating. But sharing, commenting, subscribing, and liking, all of that really does help too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.